There you go. You will have your recorded Zoom. I promise. So good afternoon, everybody. I apologize for the little bit of delay. I think we had a transformer in our area blow up. So internet, everything went down. So we just readjusted and we're doing it this way. I am taping this though for you guys. So Natalie, we'll make sure a recorded version goes out to anyone and distributors if they want to share it with their stylists. So thank you for having me. And I'm wondering, Natalie, can I give you, can I make you a, co-host?
Yeah. Yep.
Let me just see here. Bear with me, you guys. All right, Natalie, I think I just made you a host.
Yep, I got it. So I'll take care of the waiting room for you, Jessie.
Thank you.
And I will give you a little shout out if somebody wants to type a question into the chat box, because I know you're on your phone and it's tiny. So I will help you out with that.
Thank you very much. So without further ado, I'm super excited to do this class, you guys. I think we're in a season of transition. I'm lucky enough to be in a state that has all 4 seasons. So we definitely got people looking for color transformations when it comes, when we're working our way into fall, winter, the colder months, whatever it may be. And I love that REF Stockholm gives me the option of being able to utilize soft color. So today I'm going to dive into just doing a full color kind of switch and only using soft color. And for you guys that are using it or maybe have heard about it, but a little bit more unfamiliar with soft color is REF's an ammonia-free option for being able to do semi up to a demi-permanent. In some situations on more fine hair types, I'm definitely getting a permanent situation, which is great because I'm using something that is a little bit lower on the pH scale. It's gentler to the hair. We've got our olive oil base to it, which gives us amazing shine. And being able to have a product like that that I can pull on pre-lightened hair or hair that's already been chemically lightened, and put some deposit, put some pigment, put some tones back into it for this time of year is great. And I think that for most stylists that are lightening their clients, but they also have clients that want to transition into something else or just kind of morph their color as the seasons go on, being able to have soft color, be able to do that because it goes into the hair softly, but it also leaves softly, is great because I don't want the frustration of depositing down darker, deeper tones into the hair. And then 4 months from now they're thinking about spring and going on spring break and vacation and wanting those highlights. And I'm having to really bleach back through the hair, pre-lighten the hair again, do all these different things that could tend to be more aggressive to the hair when I don't need to. So what can we use soft color for though? Some people wonder, besides maybe toning highlights, what else can you use soft color for behind the chair? So a million services. You guys can just do a straight up shine service with it. I think that this is a huge time of year also that we have clients that are just maybe coming in for a haircut, but they're lacking shine. So just being able to do our clear, our 0.00 with a 6 volume on towel dried, shampooed, cleansed hair for anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes is amazing. And it's a quick little upsell that we can do behind the chair with our clients. Gray blending, because it can use it with 6 volume developer, but I can also use it with a 10 volume developer to get a little bit more uptake and a little bit more stick. I can get gray blending. which I don't know about you guys, but I have tons of clients now that are not necessarily ready to go au natural, but maybe have a little bit less maintenance. And so being able to do great blending with soft color is also great. Refreshing mid and ends. This is just a gimme that I obviously do behind the chair quite a bit. So if clients are coming in for a retouch and they're looking for a product to run mid shaft to ends that's really good for the hair, healthy for the hair, but is going to add a bit of tone or depth or deposit, I have an option of an olive oil based ammonia free color that I can run out through the mid shaft and ends of the hair just to pump it back up and give it life again. Obviously all over services, I have many clients that their scalp to end color all the time is done with a semi-demi. And again, like I said, maybe I'm doing a 10 volume and a soft color at the scalp on dry hair on the new growth area, and then misting down her ends and applying another formula with 6 volume and soft color on dampened ends, just to give it more of that lived in look. You can make an 8 vol. So you've got lots of options and ways to be able to utilize this product that I hope everyone's doing, or at least I inspire you to do some things today. Low lighting with it, it is my go-to product for adding depth and dimension into the hair, and low lighting. So maybe she just wants a few little shadow slices or a few little pieces. It's a great way to add in a bit of tonality to your clients just in a deposit situation. And then obviously toning and glossing. So with REF Stockholm, when we speak to toning, we talk about glossing the hair. It sounds prettier too when you're talking to your clients. And I always say also, when we're mixing up the color and you are glossing your client at the shampoo bowl, tell them what you're doing and tell them all the benefits of it. So many times we're back there and we're shampooing and we're like, I'll be right back. And we come back mixing something or shaking up a bottle of something. And they're like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just toning your highlights. That doesn't really give them a benefit. They think we're fixing something. So make sure you give them all the benefits. I'm glossing your highlights and I'm adding in a bit of tone. It's an olive oil base. It's super high shine. It's actually really good for your hair. So it's actually almost like a deep conditioning treatment with pigments added into it. And I'm customizing it just for you. So give them those benefits of what soft color is and what it does, so that they see the value in it and what it can do for them. Soft color is also our go-to for all of our tint backs and repigmentation. So anytime you have someone with pre-lightened hair that's looking to go quite a bit darker, we're always going to use soft color as our fill, because it's our, again, ammonia-free way. And anybody that knows anything about our chemicals, ammonia is in permanent hair color to help lift and swell the cuticle and make the color be able to get inside the hair. But once that cuticle's been lifted and opened, we don't need to do it again and again and again and again, because eventually that cuticle is quite lifted, and this is where we start to cause breakage and damage to the hair. So if I have something that can do it in a much gentler form, that should be our go-to option. And then last but least, being able to add a bit of tonality after any kind of perming services. This is going to be your product of choice also. We know sometimes perms can tend to dull the hair, take some of the shine away, even strip a little bit of color out. So having a product that I can work on damp hair for 10 minutes after a perm, make that curl even snappier, and add a bit of depth or pigment back into the hair, and shine is what we want to do. So without further ado, I am going to get started. Does anybody have any questions so far on soft color? Mixing, different things like that. Like I said, you can mix with a 6 or a 10 volume. You have the option of towel dried hair or lightly misted hair, or you can apply on dry if you're looking for a little bit more stick. I always tend to use 6 volume with my soft color on dampened hair, and I tend to use my 10 volume on dry hair to give variation and little bits of difference. So mannequin here that I've got. So I wanted to show you guys where our little lady started, right? So she's got a little bit of depth in there. She's definitely got some balayage going on, but summer's over and she is ready for something a little bit deeper. And you guys, what I love about soft color too, is we have the opportunity to be able to add in depth, but still get that awesome shine off of the hair. So when you guys look at her from the front, and we'll get into the placement on this, if I hold this down and tip her, you can definitely see more of a difference. But when she's light and fluffed, because of the way the color was placed and utilizing only soft color, it's not, this wouldn't be a huge shock to any of my clients that had some lightness in the hair, right? If I turn her around though, so that we can see where she started and then where I brought her to, you guys can definitely see the tonal difference and the depth difference between the two sides of the head, right? But it's all about how color's placed. So I worked with 4 formulas, and we'll break it down for you guys, but 4 different formulas that we worked from deeper up into lighter and the lightest bits up around the face, so that we still kept some of that existing lightness in there. We just changed some of the tonality a bit and kept her light up around the face, because that's still definitely trending, right? But just to show you guys a difference in it, I think some people think that if we're going to do a seasonal change, it has to be something huge, and then that takes commitment, and then it's something that we're fighting when we're working back into the spring and summer months. And this is just something that looks lived in, it looks soft, it looks rich, it gives her kind of that fall vibe, but she definitely still has variation and dimension throughout the hair. So you guys can see that in there. So I'm gonna share the formulas with you guys, and then we're gonna break down the placement on this. I'm very much about easy placement that can actually be done. I might have a client that just booked for a retouch and an ends refresh, or a retouch and a few foils, and I need to be able to make this work in a 30 to 45 minute time slot. So I'm just going to show you guys here. So I've got some diagrams. And of course I had to switch over to drawing all of them. But if we're looking at side profile, we're literally going to break the head into 3 sections, right? So occipital down, or high occipital, usually about at the top of the ear area. We're going to break that and work that across, and then high temple, and then a top lid section will be our 3rd section. Then once we get in there, we're going to have fun with directional diagonal placements below the round of the head, meaning the parietal ridge. Everything below the parietal ridge is going to be done on diagonals, and everything in the top lid section, we are going to be working across the top of the head vertically. All right. What you do inside these sections is up to you guys. You want to slice, you want to micro slice, macro slice, weave, fine weave, baby light, chunky, whatever you want to do. I'm not going to tell you how to place the color inside. You guys get to decide how you want to do that. Sometimes even on some clients, I'll love the existing tone. And so I might do a weave and apply one of my soft color formulas to the weave and leave the alternate weave out and just leave it dry. So it's up to you guys. So breaking these sections down, we'll section her off. So obviously I already did half of the head, so we're just going to clip that side out of the way. And at any time, if anybody's got a question, even if it's not related to soft color, but you've got a question, anything to do with REF Stockholm, feel free to ask. All right, so her dark side, I'm going to just twist this up and get it out of the way.
I have a question, if I could ask, Jessie.
Yes.
You know, I have lots of REF soft users, and some of them are very large salons, and every once in a while, hairdressers will come to me, and I'm glad they do, because, you know, I think some people are afraid to come ask questions because they're afraid of revealing their unknowing. But the difference, when the difference between the low volume and the 6 volume and the 10 volume, a lot of people are afraid of using the 10 volume because they're afraid of breaking the base and having a warm result. But I say that I look at the 10 volume as longer lasting and the 6 volume as being more sheer and not as long lasting. But I don't find that developers break bases. I find alkalinity breaks bases, but sometimes maybe I'm wrong. What's your answer to someone that I find salons either use all 6 or all 10? Rarely, you know, from going into different salons, I could tell by reordering the developers that they're pretty much fixated on one or the other. But is there an intelligent answer that I could share with them?
So honestly, alkalinity is what's going to swell the cuticle. So that's going to be the product itself, either your permanent color or your soft color, gives you your degree of swell on the cuticle. Your developer is all lift. It's lift or deposit. So developer actually has 2 jobs. So its first job is to go in and diffuse or lighten natural pigments in the hair. And its second job is to oxidize the artificial pigments so that they can come to fruition and be what you want them to be. So I can understand where someone would say that a 10 volume might give a shift in movement, but I would say she'd have to be running really warm body temperature wise, or she's got extremely fine hair. And in those situations, I do have some clients, like I said, I use 8-Vol a lot. So on the scalp, if I'm looking to add in like maybe a root smudge, where I'm wanting to put in a little bit of depth at the scalp, maybe at her level or 1 level lighter, I'll use an 8-Vol instead. But I always just think it's body heat. So that also plays into when I shampoo my highlights out and I go to rinse, then rinsing with a more tepid water so that that scalp heat isn't super, super hot. But I would say it's very few and far between that I see a shift on the base where it actually exposes underlying pigments.
And how about the longevity of the lasting of the color? Do you find the 10 volume makes it last longer?
10 volume is more stick for sure.
Yeah, more stick. Yeah, that was
so
my
if they're just looking to refresh the end, 6 volume is fine. But if they're looking to deposit down, like they want to see a big difference in depth, or they're looking to low light and add depth into the hair, then 10 volume should be their go-to for sure.
Yeah, well, I find a lot of people use toners to adjust their tone of finished blonde, and it would just seem to me that they would want it to last longer than shorter. If they're taking the goldness out of someone's finished result, they wouldn't want it to wash out quicker. They would want it to last longer. So I thought 10 volume should be the
well. And I get what you're saying with that, but also remember that on fresh highlights and especially pre-lightened hair, you have more porous hair to begin with. So a lot of times 6-Vol is all you'll need. 10-Vol is more going to be, I would say, 10-Vol for me is going to be my go-to if I'm looking to add depth. If they're just looking to change the tonality of a color, I would stick with 6 volume on damp hair. And usually, you know, it depends. Someone like me, if I were to do like a 9-2-3 10-1 on this with 10 volume, I might look a little mucky, where with 6 volume on damp hair, it's going to be like a watercolor. I'll get what I want and I should have good stick because my hair is more porous than say this level.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I think when the hair is wet, that adds a certain amount of liquid to the formula, and that it would
It
lessen the intensity.
Yes.
So on damp hair, maybe
So,
I would use 10 rather than 6, but that's opposite thinking. So I
right.
don't know. I get these questions myself in my own head, and I'm glad I got a
No,
chance to share
and
it.
I think that that's good. So I would say if I had somebody that I did fresh highlights on and I wanted to put in a bit of a shadow or something just a hair darker, I might use an 8 val on her towel dried hair at the scalp, but then my mid ends formula, I would drop to a 6 val.
Okay, great.
It's also just going to look more natural and more lived in.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks. Sorry
Yeah.
to take so much time. Yeah.
No, that's what you're not taking up. This is what we're here for. So first section, right, is going to be just a horizontal line at about the top of the ear. Okay, and I find that when I'm working in adding depth into the hair, I always work from the bottom up. It's cleaner. And then when I'm clipping up in here, I'm not clipping into, some people would go in and do a retouch, or in this situation, we are going to be tapping in a shadow on her, but I don't want to tap it in everywhere, because then when I go to clip things, I'm clipping into wet, darker color, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to do section 1, finish section 1, and then move into section 2. So we're just going to clip this out of the way. All right. And then, like I said, we're going to work with diagonal sections through here. And the reason I choose diagonals when I'm working on hair that hangs, right, is if I did horizontal sections through here, she would just have sheets of color that fell over sheets of color. And if I'm trying to get multi-dimensional ribbons, right, then horizontal is not what I would want to do. But if I took completely vertical sections, I'm going to get too stripy, chunky, and I don't want that either. So if you want the best of both worlds, you're always going to want to work in a diagonal section. Now, some people, for their clients, because that whole underneath kind of halo on the hairline is big to keep a lot more lightness, some people will literally go in and section out a fine section that they just keep and they don't do anything to. You absolutely have that option in those clients if that's how your client rolls. Okay, so I'm going to take my first section. How thick your sections are is totally up to you, right? Based on what it is that you're looking for and their hair texture and density. I'm probably, after I do her retouch, I will probably go in on about a 1/2 inch width, because she's got a nice, fairly dense texture. So I don't want to take them too thick, or where you might not get good saturation, or again, color might end up being too chunky. So I'm going to start, like I said, the color goes from deeper up into a bit lighter. So I have 4 formulas that I'm going to share with you guys quick. So in my first bowl, and I don't know if it's going to switch, yep, it's going to switch it all around on you guys. I have equal parts 512, which is one of our wood tones, with our 6.4, which is a copper at a level 6. So notice I took a warm against a cool. Okay, I'm creating my own neutral. And then, so I did 25 grams of 512 to 25 grams of 6.4. Then I did 5 grams of gold booster to 3 grams of red booster, right? So I'm making my own little bit of copper. So I'm leaning it warmer than what it would be if I just did 6.4 and 512, because I've added in a bit of orange by mixing my red booster and my gold booster. That's my deepest color. That you guys can see through that underneath and in at the scalp area. All right. Then I'm a big one that when I'm taking hair deeper, that much deeper, I love to have a fill formula ready to go. That is kind of my little guarantee on light ends that whatever I lay over the top of it, it's going to be beautiful and reflective. Okay. So for me, because she does have some quite bit light level 9, 10 hair in there, I'm doing equal parts of 10.0 to 9.3. And then I am going in with 5 grams of gold. Okay, so a very neutral level 10, a warm gold level 9, and then I'm adding in even more gold, 5 grams of gold, not 5 drops, 5 whole grams. And this, you guys will see random bits. If I feel like I want it in there and I want a little bit more light reflection, I'm actually gonna prep it and lay it on some of her light ends and then lay a secondary formula over the top of it. My mid formula is 6-4 again. So I've got 25 grams of 6-4 to 25 grams of 7036. So I took a neutral. I think the 036s, 035s are just a beautiful pre-made neutral with a little bit of warmth to them. And I took a 6 against a 7. So a copper level 6 against a neutral 7. Again, my favorite, I added 5 grams of gold. I want really shiny, light reflective hair. And hopefully you guys are hearing what I'm saying and remembering what the mannequin looked like and went, oh, she wasn't like 24 karat gold. It was just this beautiful reflection that got put in. And then my lightest shade is equal parts of 8-1 to 8-3-1 with, guess what, 5 grams of gold. Okay, so it's fall. I want to put the tones in there. I want to put the warmth in there. I want to show you guys that in 50 grams of color, adding 5 grams of my booster does not make it, oh my gosh, it's insane. But it is definitely a tool that now that we have them, I cannot live without them. So I've got everything mixed here and ready to go. I'm just going to put some gloves on. And then my go-to for skin and not having obnoxious stains is either Stay Smooth or Get It Straight to prep the hairline so that it doesn't have a bad stain. And I always say, if I'm coloring the hair, whether it's soft or permanent, if I'm coloring it with a level 6 or darker, I'm going to add a barrier cream. And if I'm going 7 or lighter, it's usually not necessary. So I'm just going to go in because I still want my mannequin to be pretty when it's all said and done. So slathering it on the ears. And what I love about this is some people are like, oh, Get It Straight, that would be too greasy on her. You don't have to use a ton, but it definitely just is absorbed into the skin and feels good. It feels almost more like lotion. All right. When I'm going to be working with soft color, and you guys will see I'm not really going to use any papers for this. I'm just going to be doing a lot of free form. I like to have towels ready to go so that I can wipe my hands. All right. So I'm going to turn her here so you guys can see. If you guys need me to move her at all, let me know. So now I'm going in with that darkest formula, the 5-1-2-6-4 with gold and red booster. I'm going to outline my section. And once I get this on, you guys will see how quick this can get applied. Now, let's say that this is a client that doesn't get an overall color. Maybe she just gets foils. So what I like to do in soft color is I will still choose a tone 1 level deeper than her natural. and add in a bit of a tonality to it. Even if you're like, oh, I don't know, she doesn't really like coppers. This isn't a straight copper. I'm neutralizing it out with some of the 512. So it's just making a really rich brown and more light reflective, more interesting and more customized. It's not like I'm mixing the same formula on everyone, but I'll say one of my other favorites is do 64512, and instead of gold booster, use 5 grams of violet booster. If you want it to lean deeper and cooler, that's another way to be able to do that. So now I have my shadow put in there. If you know already that you want it pulled and stretched out further through that underneath, go ahead and do it out of the gate. Otherwise, you can adjust as you're working through the hair. So now I'm just going to go in. I'm going to take that diagonal section. You guys can see there. I'm going to take a clip, put that section up, and then I'm going to have a second clip handy and ready to go. And I'm going to go in clip up my weave, my alternate weave, and now I have my leftover weave out, right? So think about how you want this. If you don't want to leave the hairline out and leave it extremely light, maybe I go in with my lighter formulas, right? It depends on what you're looking for. If you wanted to do that along the hairline, I could maybe do my 647036 against my 81831. On her though, I want some depth through the underneath. So I'm going to go in with that base color again. And I'm going to work it down. And then I'm looking at her ends. If I've got in a color this deep against ends that light, if I feel like I need that fill, right, I'm going to go in and fill those ends with that 9310 and gold booster and just feather it through. Now I can come right back over the top, melt that color all the way down. And then I have 2 brushes, right? I have my light melting brush and my dark melting brush. So I'm just going to take this through, give it one good comb through. And then just for this first section on her underneath, I am going to lay one piece of paper. You can use a mesh, whatever you want, just so that that first piece does not get on anything, get on her neck or anything like that. Now I can drop my alternate weave. Now my alternate weave, I'm going to go in with that mid formula, the 647036. And I'm going to work that all the way through, getting good sections. Work that through. You guys can hear it a little. I'm wiping off my glove. Next section. Now, could I alternate slices in here too? Could I just do a slice of something against a weave of something else? Absolutely. Right? So I've got a section here. You guys can see how light those ends are. So again, maybe I want to go in with this and my gold. This is my 10-0 and 9-3 with gold booster. Work that through those ends that are solid and light. And now this formula, I'm going to come in just straight with the 647036 with my gold booster. Oh, we got an emergency down the road. Right? And this is my darker shade. So I'm going to use my dark brush. Once from the underneath, once from the top, and drop it. I'm not pressing that section into the previous section. I'm just letting it drop and hang. The whole idea with this is it is more melty. So if something touches something, it's okay. Just don't push them into one another, right? So again, I'm on that diagonal, making sure this clip is dry and doesn't have a bunch of product on it. Going in with my gold again and alternating back to that base formula of the 51264 with red and gold booster. So right now, just laying that fill on. Now, some people would lay the fill and then worry that there would be too much uptake. You could towel blot each section if you wanted to, but the whole idea with this is I want her to love it, but I also still want her to feel like she has that lightness and variation in the hair. So if it does pick up a little bit more of the gold on the very ends, I'm okay with it, right? Last section, dry off my glove, going back in and doing my 64736 straight. And now maybe this one, I don't want it on the, though I don't want the gold fill on the ends. Maybe I just want this to be what it is. But these are all my darker shades. So I'm using my darker brush, once from the underneath, once on the top, letting it drop. So section 1 is done. So now we're going to come into section 2. Section 2 is going to be another horizontal section. And we're going to come high temple. And around. Put this out of the way. So now I have section 2. Making sure my clip is dry, flipping it to the other side. So on my underneath, I did my diagonal backs this way, right? So diagonal back. So now I'm going to come in and we're going to work a diagonal forward this way. This, and you don't have to, you guys, but I find that the more I confuse the eye with the direction of my diagonals, the softer and meltier everything ends up looking. So we're going to start in the back and work our way forward this time. So now, well, now first I need to put my retouch on. So hold on one second. So base again. Now I've had some people ask like, okay, but what if I just wanted to do that dark base on her underneath? You could. I mean, you could switch the formula through this mid and top to your 64736 if you wanted to. Tapping in the base. And notice when I say that I tap, I really do just tap and give it a bit of a smudge. And I definitely have tension on the hair in my fingers so that I have control over how far out I'm pulling that smudge. And in some areas, if I wanted to pull it further, I absolutely could. But I tend to always try to take the sections when I'm putting a retouch on that will bring everything away from the face. And because soft color, you guys, has olive oil in it, things can appear deeper than what they're going to end up as because you have that oil base. But don't be afraid of it, because you guys saw this 5-6 on her does not read like a level 4. And I'm putting it with 10 volume on dry hair. And I definitely got depth and deposit, but nothing crazy. Okay, so now I'm going to come through and we're going to take opposite sections. So now I'm doing diagonal forward. Dry clip. So now my level 5 formula that was on the base is not going through any of these sections. I can disregard it. So now I'm going to be alternating my 64736 formula that's got my gold booster with that 81831 formula. So I'm going to start with my 64736.
Jessie, I just have one question.
Yes.
When adding boosters to formulas, whether to enhance or neutralize, is there a specific measurement or weight per level and selected booster?
Good question. So no, there is not. Like we would never say that you can't use violet booster on a level 7 or lighter. You can use the boosters however you would like. Our rule of thumb though is that boosters are 25 up to 25% of the formula. So if you start going above and beyond 25%, meaning if you did 20 grams of color, 5 grams of it could be a booster if you wanted it to. If you go above and beyond the 25%, there is no brown in your boosters. So you will start to lack in durability, which would be the case in anything that's like directs and the pastels, different things like that. When there is no brown to anchor a tone or a hue, it doesn't have a level that it's attached to. So it will leave the hair quicker. So that's why you definitely want it to only be up to 25% of the formula. We've always said for fashion reasons, if you wanted to do the straight red booster on blonde hair for bright red pieces, you absolutely could, but know that the durability wouldn't be great. It wouldn't be nearly as good as if you mixed a red booster in with one of the pre-made reds. So enhancing, you can go above and beyond the formula if you want. Meaning if I wanted my 512 to be extra violety, I could do 20 grams of 512 to 20 grams of my 6 or 10 volume. And then I could add in up to 5 grams of violet booster on top of the formula and not add extra developer. So it's going to make the color even more impactful. But it is violet, right? So even though it doesn't have a level of depth to it, violet is definitely deeper than gold, right? If we had to look at our boosters, right? If you just looked at that, what level of depth would you give? What level of depth would you give violet? I would say the violet reads like a 5-6, okay? Where my gold booster reads at an 8. So it's just keeping in mind that if I go 5 grams above and beyond with my violet booster or my blue booster or my green booster, right? it's going to make my color appear deeper, but it's also going to have that extra punch of tonality to it. If you are looking to neutralize a tone, say you were putting blue booster in a 6.1 soft color because she has some brassiness in her mid and ends, the booster will go inside your formula. So it would be part of. So then I would do 15 grams of 6.1 to say 5 grams of green on like a level 6 to try to kill some of the brassiness or warmth in the hair. So always remember 25% of your formula. If you're looking to enhance it, it can stand outside the formula. And if you're neutralizing, make sure you tuck it away inside the formula. All right, so now where am I? I am forward section is I'm introducing the new lightest shade in here, which is the 8.1, 8.3.1 with gold booster. So this is definitely going to be a neutral because my 8.1 is an ash, right? And then my 8.3.1 is gold, but it also has some ash in it. So I'm adding the gold booster into the formula, not to make it brassy, funky level 8. I'm putting it in for the light reflection and the shine. And to just give a whole new feel to it. Right? Now I'm working with a lighter shade. So I'm going to work and just wet brush that through, letting it hang. So you guys are seeing that through this underneath. I am kind of just slicing right now. When we get into this top lid section, I will definitely go into a weave just to keep it interesting and more multidimensional. So now I'm back to my 6.4, 7.036. Could you alternate all three, your 5.6 into your 6.7 into your 8? Absolutely. Could you leave some sections out? Could you mist an end down? And wet brush through and give an even more lived in look? 100%. You know, that's the thing with doing this kind of stuff for clients is, like I said, the more you confuse the eye with what's happening, the more lived in and more natural looking it's going to be. So back into my 8. So the only formula, you guys, that I used with 6 is that gold fill. That was the 10.093. Otherwise, I'm looking for the most stick that I can get on her hair. So the rest I used with 10 volume. And like I said, if you're non-committal and you want to make an 8, you can always make an 8 val too. Now I want to end with an 8 by her face. Okay. A little ribbon here. So it's kind of thinking as I'm working my sections, if I just did an 8 and this would be a 6.7, that'd be an awfully big chunk of 8 for her. So maybe I want what's right behind it to be a little bit deeper and darker. So this section could be my 6.7. All right, let's get crazy. Let's put a little fill out in these light ends. This is my 9-3, 10-0, and gold booster. Back into my 6-4, 7-0-3-6. Dark tone, so dark brush. Letting it hang. Drying off my gloves. Last one.
Matter.
I want those ends to really look lived in, so I misted them. Plus I'm doing my
Oh, I can
fill.
just mute her and talk to you. I didn't need to walk away. What'd you say?
Sorry.
They sent you?
what? Whoops. So I'm gonna work that fill up quite a bit higher on her. And then work that 8 right over the top of it. But I'm really working that 8 into the mid. Doing a slight pull down, and then with my light brush. And this is what I did do on the mannequin on the other side, you guys, just so you know. So always keeping in mind, if she still doesn't necessarily want the traditional money piece, but wants it to still be lighter and softer around the face, then that would be what we would want to do. Okay. So section 2 is done. So now all I have left is just making sure I got good saturation at the scalp there. So now I have my lid section, which is section 3. So we're going to go in and I'm going to put her new growth on. Now, one thing that you guys can do too, that I like to do sometimes is I might go in and put her retouch on everywhere, depending if it wasn't so contrasting in levels. And then what's left in my bowl, I might just add clear to or add some 932, because then I'm really staying in that same tonal family, right? I've just diluted it down a bit. And again, also, if it is, my dog's walking through here, I apologize. But you have the ability to make your shades, you know, as light or as dark as you want, and have a little bit more stick or look like she's shampooed it a few times. And most of my clients, at least here, that get all the balayage work and get all the dimensional work, they prefer a bit of the lived-in look, right? You could also pull out and smudge out further in the crown and less the closer you get to the face, right? You could have a good 1 inch or 1.5 inch pull out with this shadow in the back of the head or the very top crown area. But then as you work your way forward, you're down to, you know, 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. So you have the ability to, you know, really customize that and pull it out as much as you want. But once I get done with this tap on her base, that base color is going away because it's not going through any of this top anymore. Because the top, we definitely want to work with the lighter shades. And I'm short, so I'm like on my tippy toes here. So don't mind me. But soft color is definitely for so many services behind the chair, definitely my go-to. because it just has a much softer look to it. But I can still have it be quite impactful. Okay, so I got regrowth on. So now we're gonna work horizontally. And again, we're gonna start from the bottom and work our way up. So I'm gonna take a horizontal section off that side, let that hair drape. So now I'm gonna work with mainly two formulas. So I'm gonna be using my 81831 with Gold Booster, and then just that fill, just the fill formula all by itself. So if you want to get a bit of dimension in the hair, then this is where you have the ability to adjust all of your weaves, right? So your first one could be quite chunky. Your one after that could be softer, whatever it is you're looking for. So this weave I'm going to put up. So I want a little bit more contrast. So I'm going to start with the fill. We're going to feather that in. Work it down. Light brush. Pick up my weave. Now I'm going in with my 81831. You guys can see the 81831 definitely on this hair. I mean, it looks much more neutral out of the gate, even though I have 5 grams of gold in it. Making sure I've got good saturation. Combing, letting it hang. Next section. Now I'm kind of up into money piece land in her high temple here, you guys. So on some of those, don't be afraid if you want to just let those drop and adjust them or leave them out. Do your lightest shade, whatever the case may be. Out. Same thing. I'm gonna do fill. Now maybe on this one, I want my ends misted. Work that color down a little bit more. One pass through with the brush. Right? Fill. 10093. Mist. Little pull with my thumb. Okay, maybe I want to leave those ends even lighter. So I didn't run that fill all the way to the ends, misted them with water, and then just melted that color out. All right, so this is my 81831. And people are like, but what happens when this lays on top of the other one? Like I said, if you feel like you really need to use papers or cotton or whatever the case may be, you can, but the whole idea is that this is very melty and blended. So it's okay. Just don't press them into one another. And I did no fill on this formula or on this strand, because every time I change things up, I'm going to get lots of different variation. And then remembering too, especially on the 8, I mean, she's got a 7, 8, 9, 10 working through that top. So in her existing balayage work. So this could work to my benefit in the fact that some areas are going to have a stronger pickup than others. Right? Money piece, not being specific, have it be a little bit more bespoke, a little bit more organic. Full. Lightest formula, my 910. Brushing it through. Miss that end. Okay, let's go crazy for a second. This is the 8 again. I'm going to leave crazy for the very top line, part line, just because it's good. It's a good veil technique. When I get in there, just to add a bit more dimension right off of her part line. So I'm to my last section. Pulling out little bits. So I had 8 before, so this will be my 9, 10. And I love the viscosity of soft color too, because it's really easy to see and feel your saturation. I do brush and use wet brushes a lot though, because I love that I get really good slip. It doesn't get caught in the hair. Top veil, my weave left out. Right? So this one, I'm going to go in with the mid. So this was the 647036 formula. Just because this will help blur, blend, add a little bit of depth off of that top, but not too much. Miss those ends. I'm going to fill. Back in with my 6-7. Darker formula, darker brush. I'll drape that into the back so it lays a little bit more over that darker piece. The last little guy here. my 10093. But really, quite easy, quite simple. 4 different tones, 4 different levels, all have a little bit of a tie-in, right? Gold Booster was used in every single formula. Really played off a warm versus a neutral. And big difference in how dark it looks while she's sitting, right? But just really pretty tones that you can get through the hair, lots of depth, lots of dimension, but soft, shiny, sexy hair, right? Still got a little bit of that lightness up around the face for that light reflection, but it all ties in really well. But she gets that good depth in where she wants it and where it matters. Easy transformation for her. This will shampoo out over time subtly, but nothing where she's coming back in feeling completely blonde again, but she feels like she got a difference. We did it all in a really good, healthy way for her hair. So I hope you guys got a little inspiration on this. I hope I maybe made you think a little bit differently about soft color or some different uses for soft color. Play with those boosters. They will be your best friend. And remember the 25% rule when you're playing with them. 25% of the formula above and beyond when you're looking to enhance, inside the formula when you're looking to neutralize. So does anybody have any questions? All right.
Thank you, Jessie.
Thank you. Everybody take care. And Natalie, you'll share this with distributors then, yes?
Yes, we will.
All right.
Sure thing. Thanks, everyone.